Someone in the Big Six media oligarchy is out to destroy Bill Cosby. It's clear to me from the recent attack on Bill Cosby in the media that there is some sort of vendetta or grudge that someone has against Dr. Bill Cosby. In this recent attack, someone has dug up old documents from a 2005 deposition where Bill Cosby admits to buying drugs to give to women. And now they're trying to spin this by taking pieces of the deposition and saying that this is a confirmation of Bill Cosby raping all these white women. If you don't have critical thinking skills, you'll actually believe the surface of this recent rumor mill that's being spread. But the truth is, there have been no substantiated claims of rape on Bill Cosby. What this is another salvo in the smear campaign against Bill Cosby, and this is a continued effort to continue to try to malign this man's name so that the powers that be can continue to discredit him and humiliate him. And when you look at the evidence here, the evidence clearly shows that there is some sort of campaign being waged against Bill Cosby by this Big Six oligarchy because they have continued to make efforts to try to ruin this man's name. And when I talk about the Big Six media, I'm talking about the six companies that control all of the media that's broadcast on television, radio, film, and even the internet today. And those six companies are Disney, Viacom, News Corp, NBC Universal, Warner Brothers, and Sony. Those six companies, it's clear that somebody in one of these companies has an agenda against Bill Cosby, and they're using this agenda, furthering this agenda by trying to proliferate this negative information against him. And they continue to, present this image of a brute that this is what they want to do. This is what they want to do. They want to promote this image of Bill Cosby as a black brute in his earlier years when he was young, so they could make him discredit him and destroy his legacy and destroy all the good things that he has done for black people. They don't want anything that he has done that has been positive over the last 30, 40 years to be seen in a positive light. They want his image to be tarnished. And they're trying to do this, through rewriting history and rewriting things and trying to present him as some sort of black brute. And the campaign to turn Bill Cosby into a black brute didn't start until about a year ago, I'd say. And the reason why they're doing this, I guess, is because he is presenting views and opinions about black people that people in the media don't want presented. And I say preferably, the white liberal media, because they like the idea of the Negro being presented as a victim, and they don't like the idea being promoted that black people can do for themselves and achieve for themselves, and a message of personal responsibility. Now I know some people have an issue with him calling out black people, but I look at it as somebody had to do it. If you look at the community and the sad state of affairs it's in, Bill Cosby had no choice but to say something, because when you look at all the work this man has done to try to help black people, putting black people in colleges, full ride tuition, paying for black schools, black colleges to remain in operation, continued donations to public black to HBCUs, and his continued support of black people, I can understand his frustration and his anger at the sad state of affairs of this Afro-American Negro community. Because when you look at the sad state of affairs, um, and all the effort this man has put in to try to help black people, you can't help but be angry about it. You can't say but come on people, because it's like the message that he presented in his legacy for the last 35, 40 years has fallen on deaf ears. Yes, for a little while, people, when the Cosby Show was on the air, were trying to do something, and then when A Different World was out, when he had A Different World out, we had black people trying to go to college. But right now, we look at if you're looking at it from a perspective of a man his age, you just get very sad when you see things getting worse with the Negro instead of getting better. So I understood his frustration when he made those statements, and now I understand what the media is trying to do to him. They're trying to punish him for making those statements, and they're trying to malign him by saying, in some ways, trying to say that he is some sort of hypocrite for making those statements about black people earlier by showing, this man's past indiscretions. But when you look at the record, of this man, and you look at his I look at his personal life as separate from his professional life. It's a plan to try to destroy his professional life, but by saying negative things about his personal life. But when I look at his personal life, you know, in Hollywood, there are many people who have done what Bill Cosby have done with women, and this is nothing new. I mean, many of these white producers, many of these white directors, many of these white actors have had many women, and they were even married, and they were married just like Bill Cosby was. And many of these same people, you know, were brought drugs to have relationships with women because in a lot of cases in Hollywood, I'm going to explain this, and I know this for a fact. In Hollywood, many of these aspiring actresses will go out and go get high or go get drunk before they go over to a producer's house or a director's house or even an actor's house, because they know when they go over to these homes, there's going to be some sort of casting couch escapades going on, and they go get drunk and they go get high because they want to be out of their mind while this man is participating in these sexual acts with them, and they don't really want to have any me- memories of these encounters. So they will go out and go get something like a quaalude, or they'll go smoke some weed, or some of them will even snort some coke. And this is par for the course. This has been going on ever since the inception of Hollywood. This is what women have done, and they try to make Bill Cosby out to be some sort of womanizer, but this has been going on again since the inception of Hollywood. The casting couch is a real thing. Women have been pretty much been sleeping around with producers and directors and even actors all the time, and it's just commonplace. And they trying to make it like Bill Cosby is some sort of brute who raped women, and he did. And as I see it, I don't think he raped any women. Based on the evidence, it sounds like casting couch. A lot of these women wanted to advance their careers, so they thought, oh, I'll just find this A-list guy, I'll sleep with him, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to go take some drugs to take the edge off, and once they take the edge off, this guy's just doing his business. They wake up, they whatever happens, a lot of them, they know what happened, but they just don't want to feel it. They don't want to. They don't want to experience. They just want to be out of their mind while this is going on. And then after the guy does his business, they they then go on to try to do other business, because we look at the track record of several of these women who say that they were raped. They continue to have business relations with Bill Cosby, and that's just unnatural considering how rape victims, their natural pattern. An average rape victim wants nothing to do with her attacker. Why would these women again continue to have relations with Bill Cosby and then still ask this man for help in their career when this man has supposedly raped them? Now that really makes no sense to me, especially a guy who knows the entertainment business and has been studying it since he was 7 years old. Why would a man who raped somebody? Why would you want to get help from a man who raped you? It just makes absolutely no sense. And when you look at the timeline, the late 1960s, early 1970s, when Bill Cosby was coming up, when a lot of these encounters did happen, this would have been a major scandal, especially with, you know, Bill Cosby with them alleging that he violated white women. These white women could have easily gone to police at any time. This is why I believe that these were casting couch jump offs and that they were getting high, and these women, they would take these quaaludes or these roofies or whatever it was, and they would just go along, and that was part of the ritual for them getting ready to fornicate with Mr. Cosby, and this is just part of the affair, and that's what the framework that it fits in. And a lot of them were saying that they wanted him to help them with their careers, and this is what a lot of women would do in Hollywood. A lot of people don't understand that this is what's done in Hollywood. This is how some people, advance their careers. They try to use their bodies, and they try to use their bodies to, get into the door with these studios and stuff. And what happens is That in many cases it may work, in some cases it may work, in other cases it doesn't work. And I think a lot of people, they use the casting couch. It didn't go the way they expected. Now they're a lot older. They're like 60 and 70 years old. There's no more simps for them to live off of. There's no more, easy money based on their body and their looks anymore. So what they're doing now is this is like their last hurrah and their last chance at making some money. So they go back and they make these claims against Bill Cosby at the behest of these corporate oligarchs in the Big Six, the ones who have a grudge against Bill Cosby, because these are the people who are really just paying for this campaign to continue to go on under the table. So they trot out all these, older women who are pretty much past their prime, and they're coming out with this to try to continue to smear Bill Cosby. And now with the first salvo, when they did not working, where they brought out all these victims, and most people just did not believe them because anybody who lives in America again and understands the history of race in America would understand that any black man who's been, you know, believed to have assaulted someone sexually, especially a white woman here in America, he will be going to prison. It's just a guarantee, and he will be being prosecuted as soon as possible. If you look at the cases of Emmett Till all the way back in the 50s, this boy was murdered just for whistling at a white woman, and we're going to believe that Bill Cosby, a few years later, is still going to get a pass. That makes no sense. And when you follow the timeline, it really doesn't make any sense. I mean, you're going to give Bill Cosby a pass for raping all these white women, but O.J. Simpson isn't going to get the same pass. O.J. Simpson was charged with murder within a week of Nicole Brown Simpson's body being found in that entrance. When they found her and Ron Goldman's body, they went directly to O.J. Simpson. And if we look at other cases of rape, like the one with Mike Tyson, he was also charged within a week of the case. And the same thing with football player Brian Banks. And in both of those cases, those were black women accusing these celebrity black men of the crime of rape. When it comes down to the crime of rape, there's very little time that's wasted when a black man is a suspect. And you're going to tell me that they're going to give Bill Cosby 30 years to get away with committing rapes against white women, when historically, whenever a white woman is sexually assaulted, they automatically go right after that man. They charge him with rape, and in many cases, before the civil rights period, they would lynch these black men, just like they did in the case of Emmett Till, where they just pretty much tortured this poor boy, murdered him, and then threw him into a river, all for whistling at a white woman. But Bill Cosby's going to commit all these rapes, and he's going to get a pass. This makes no sense when you look at it from a historical context, and it makes even less sense when you look at it, logically. All I'm seeing now, in all of these cases, is a case of the casting couch, and the case of, woman meets celebrity, celebrity takes a liking to them, they bring them back upstairs, to their hotel room, or they bring them to wherever, apartments that they have. Because some of these guys have more than one apartment. Sometimes they have a place where they just take their jump offs to, and they go there. Some of these women are a little nervous. They give them a little, dope or whatever it is, and then, guy does his business. They wake up the next morning thinking that, because they sealed the deal, they have a faster track to getting a career in Hollywood, but in actuality, you have nothing. All you are was just another jump off, and I think a lot of women, they learn that. A lot of women, they have to learn that hard lesson, but what happens is you have these women who now seeing this as their last hurrah, their last chance at, making some money, because they spent most of their years, dealing with simps and other assorted guys. They can't live off their looks anymore because a lot of these women are 65, 70 years old. The money's just not flowing anymore. So they're coming out now with these stories because, again, there's got to be some sort of funder in the back on one of these big six companies continuing to push this vendetta against Bill Cosby. And what they want to do is malign his name and malign his legacy so that people cannot see him as a positive role model or a positive force that had an impact on black people. What they want to do is put this negative image in people's minds of Bill Cosby so that they won't see him, as a role model and an icon. What they want you to see him as is just another Negro out here, who is just as dirty as any other Negro out here. And maybe he did, maybe he did have an affair on his wife, but there were many men in history who've had affairs and stuff. It doesn't tarnish their work in many cases. I mean, I look at Bill Cosby, you know, and I can't say that anything that he did in his personal life had any impact on his professional life. Now, his professional life was completely separate. I mean, he kept it very separate, and everybody knew that he was, a ladies' man. Even his own wife knew about this, and what they're trying to do is trying to make him look like some sort of bad guy, and it's just not working. Because if we look at other things, if the way everybody's trying to malign Bill Cosby, they're trying to make him look like a bad guy, but they don't look at the evils that many of these white Hollywood people do. Again, you want to talk about Bill Cosby with these women, but no one wants to say a word about Stephen Collins, an admitted pedophile. No one wants to say a word about Woody Allen, who molested his own children. And no one wants to say anything about any of these other Hollywood executives and who have done all sorts of deviant acts. Again, when I talk about that casting couch, a lot of these guys, when they bring these aspiring actresses in there, and some of these aspiring actors, because a lot of these executives, and many of them are closet homosexuals, they have participated in all sorts of deviant acts. And many of these acts, if you knew about them, they would pretty much freak you out. This is why I say in some cases, Hollywood is like a hot dog factory. If you knew how the product was made, you wouldn't want to digest it, because Hollywood, there's all sorts of stuff that goes on behind the scenes, in the making of these movies and the making of these starlets. Um, and especially in the case of these starlets, these white females who you see out here, they often make them look like they're sweet and innocent. But a lot of cases, these women are pretty much glorified prostitutes, and they have done all sorts of deviant sexual acts in order to get up on that screen and play pretend. And if you knew about half of what they did, it would, make you sick to your stomach, because a lot of the stuff that we talk about with Bill Cosby, this stuff that, that they say he did with these women, alleged that he did with these women, these guys, these executives and these producers have been doing with women and men for numerous years, and it's been proven that these guys have actually done this stuff. And you know, they want to say bad things about Bill Cosby, but if the rug got pulled out on Hollywood's elite and how Hollywood's executives, especially the people behind the scenes in the suits and ties, it would not be a pretty picture. And a lot of people think that that this is gonna they just did that that destroying Bill Cosby is going to help things, but it actually hurts Hollywood more than anything, because just like somebody had the vendetta to take out Bill Cosby, there may be somebody with a plan to take out somebody else. And this is what's so dangerous about, the media today. A lot of us, we just take these media that's presented to us as truth, and it's not truth at all. If we really, peel back the layers on this whole Cosby thing, we see that there is some sort of campaign here, because what they did was they took, a few phrases and sentences out of a deposition from 2005. Again, this is a 10-year-old document, and they're going to make it look like Bill Cosby actually confessed to these crimes. This is very dangerous, because it shows us, this is what happens when a handful of people control your media. When a handful of people control your media, they can take your media and, bend it and twist it to present whatever viewpoint there is. They want it to be. Whatever viewpoint they want it to be, they can make it believe. And many people will go out and believe this to be true, and it's not true at all. And this is one of the dangers that, I saw coming when Bill Clinton signed that telecommunications law of 1996. Now, before 1996, one person could only own one newspaper and one TV station in any local region. But after this law was passed, an owner could own as many as they wanted. And now that we have 6 people controlling all the media here in the United States, Sony, Warner Brothers, News Corp, NBC Universal, Viacom, and Disney, we're living in a dangerous age because they can present media to fit whatever image they want it to be and not what the truth is actually is regarding these stories. And usually, in many cases, the only way for you to get to the truth is by going online. But with these same big six trying to buy up media such as your Root, or even in the case of your Naturally Moi and these other um, internet sources, or like Yahoo, it makes it even more dangerous. And this is why I always advocate for African Americans to get their own media and control their own media, because when we have our own media, we can present our own image. And the scariest thing about, this Telecommunications Act of 96 and its impacts almost 20 years later is that, we don't have any black media that's a counterpoint. Again, a lot of our stuff has been bought, such as your Essence magazine, which is now owned by Warner Brothers. Um, Ebony is still struggling. Johnson Publications is struggling barely to keep itself going. Many of our black newspapers are gone. Here in New York, we have no black radio stations, so there's no counterpoint to present. When people present claims like this, there's nobody there to have a counterpoint on the media, a counter voice to counter and refute many of these arguments with hard facts. And the only people who are doing that really are YouTubers right now, and that's a scary. We're living in a scary age, and this is a very, very scary place, media wise, because when you have only a handful of people controlling your media, this is why you have, campaigns like this. And it's clear to me somebody has a grudge not only against Bill Cosby, but against black men. And they really don't want you to see images of intelligent, hardworking, professional, educated black men in media. What they really want you to see are these caricaturized images of thugs, gangbangers, dope dealers, and other assorted minstrels. And what they're trying to do is they're trying to perpetuate that as the normal image of African American men. And this is again very, very dangerous and very scary time, because as long as these guys have control over your media, it's not a good thing. And we really do need to do something about this Telecommunications Act of 96. There has to be some way for somebody to think about rolling this thing back, because the viewpoints we're getting of black people clearly show, they're the worst images of black people since the 30s. And these campaigns, are a dangerous trend, because when you have a trend like this, what it represents is, we took out Bill Cosby, then who's next? And that's the whole scariest thing about this, is that the next person they try to malign, may it be a Chris Brown or whoever is out there, this type of smearing, you know, is designed to keep black people from seeing, the positives of black people. But, if you take a closer look at things like I do, because I've been studying entertainment business since I was 7 years old, you go, there's an agenda behind this, just like there was an agenda back in the 90s to make homosexuality a mainstream idea. I mean, I remember watching as a kid networks like ABC continuing to heavily push and heavily promote, a gay agenda. And now this anti-black agenda, which is clear to me as day, in the media, people they're just not taking a serious look at it. I can see, a clear anti-black agenda with all these minstrel images and all these negative images and these attempts to, malign and smear the positive role models in our community, like our Bill Cosby. I mean, this is just if we really look at Bill Cosby, he's done nothing more than any other man has done in Hollywood. Women have been doing this for years, but in this case, we're made to think he's a bad guy. But guys like, again, Stephen Collins and Woody Allen can get a pass, and they're continually being praised. I just remember, a couple of months ago, Amazon was praising Woody Allen and talking about a project they were working with, and not batting an eyelash at any of his pedophilia. Stephen Collins, they pretty much wanted us to feel sorry for him. But Bill Cosby's a monster. This clearly shows the hypocrisy in this liberal media regarding black and white. And I'm really, urging people to really take a closer look at things, because it's clear to me that there's some sort of smear campaign. When they saw the first salvo didn't work with all these white female victims. Now here they come with these court documents in an attempt to try to reinforce an already weak argument against a man who they know, they have no case against. And the whole thing is that if this case were to pass as a litmus test, that would lead to more smear campaigns against black men and more efforts to tarnish the image of black men. And this is why I'm, urging black people to really start taking a long, hard look at the media that's presented to them, because in many cases, with this big six controlling all of the media, you're going to get these slanted and distorted stories that don't tell you the whole story, and they will make people out to be villains when they're not villains at all.